Hi, Jessica here, Yoga for Everybody, representing Zen Active Sports. I'm here to practice some of my favorite yoga poses with you guys. So why don't we go ahead and jump on our mats in a kneeling position, and I'll show you guys how to practice the hero pose. So from this kneeling position, we can first check in with our alignment. So let's notice first of all where the knees are. We want to make sure the knees are directly below the hips, and then we also want to look at where the ankles are. We should make that straight line from the knee to the ankle, okay? Basically stacking the joints, okay? So then we can move up then to the shoulders. The shoulders are down, away from the ears, straight in alignment with the hips, okay? We can, of course, engage the core muscles, beginning with the muscles of the pelvic floor, okay? So contracting the Kegel muscles, the pelvis, the hips, the lower abdomen, middle and upper abdomen, obliques, all are engaged here. It's kind of like drawing the navel to the spine, really strengthening and protecting the spine so it can maintain its natural S curve. Okay, and then we'll also be lifting the crown of the head up to the sky. Okay, and then once we've found proper alignment, we can, well, we really need to establish that Ujjayi breath, that deep belly breathing pattern that we practice in yoga. So let's go over that really quickly for those of us who may not have any experience breathing from the diaphragm. Okay, so let me just explain that when we inhale in yoga, we inhale through the nose and we begin to fill the diaphragm with air first before we move the breath up into the lungs and the chest. Okay, it's sometimes called a three-part breath because we're going through those three chambers: the diaphragm, the lungs, the chest. Okay, then when we exhale, we're releasing the air out the nose from the belly, the chest, and the lungs. Okay, so also we want to pay attention to any lingering tension in the face. A lot of times we hold tension in the face and we're not even really realizing it. So one thing that I find helpful is to just put a little smile on the lips, even though some days it's harder than others. Even just a little Mona Lisa smile is going to, first of all, relax the muscles of the face, in addition to triggering the brain to believing that we're happy. Okay? It's a beautiful thing. Just the act of, raising those lips up, even just a little bit, will start to relieve pressure and tension and stress, and it'll help us to better sync that mind-body connection through the power of the breath. Okay? And once we feel as though we have established a deep belly breathing pattern, and it might take a while, it might take us a few minutes before we're ready to move deeper into the expression of the pose. And that's really one of the great things about yoga. There's always something more we can do to progress in each pose of our practice. No matter how beginner, intermediate, or advanced you are, there's always something more that yoga can teach us. And that's really because of the fact that yoga utilizes the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual aspects of one's whole being. Okay, so again, that's why we're always learning, always listening to the body, the mind, and the spirit in our practice. Okay, so once we feel as though we've tapped into that awareness of the breath, we can move deeper into the pose by coming down so we're actually sitting on the, ankles. Keeping the knees hip-width apart. Some bodies may feel comfortable bringing the knees completely together. Okay, and so it really just depends on your body type and how open the hips are, because tight hips are going to cause pain in the knees. We never want to cause any pain in the knees. Okay, so if this first step causes pain, we want to modify the pose by bringing the knees wider than hip-width apart. Well, I don't know if I would say that. You can experiment with it. I mean, as a general rule, we want the joints stacked. Maybe it feels better with the knees wider than hip-width apart. I don't know. But as a yoga instructor, I have to say, keeping the joints stacked is going to be what I recommend first and foremost. Then, of course, we could elevate the level of the floor with a block. So let me grab my handy-dandy yoga block and show you guys that we can put the block in between the knees, and then we can sit on the block. Okay, so obviously what this is doing is it's elevating the level of the floor, enabling us to be more comfortable in the pose. Takes pressure off the knees, of course, which is a nice little modification. And if this feels good, and this is how you want to stay in the pose today, then that's great. You can hold this pose for, I would say, at least 3 to 5 breaths. You might want to stay in longer if you do choose to progress further into the pose. Okay, so for those of us who may be a little more advanced in their practice, we want to come down a little more into the pose. Well, let me show you guys what that looks like next. So if this feels good, we can start to come down to a supine position, keeping the knees in alignment with the ankles. Okay, and we'll start by first walking the hands back, keeping the fingers facing the glute. Okay, opening the chest, engaging the core to protect the spine. Nice and slowly moving deeper into the pose. Coming down onto the forearms if that feels good. Pushing down into the mat with the forearms. Engaging the core, keeping the neck in alignment with the spine by looking to the corner of the ceiling. And then finally, the last step is to drop all the way down slowly to bring the back of the head to the mat. Now, as you can see, this causes an unusual arch in my lower back. Yes, it does feel good, but if you're like me and you find yourself, having a little trouble relaxing in the pose, you might want the assistance of a blanket and or a pillow. So what that would do is, by adding a little cushion underneath the low back, the upper back, you could even put a cushion under the head too. That'll all just elevate the level of the floor, taking pressure off the quads and the hips, and just more of a restorative option for this pose. I highly recommend trying this before coming all the way down to the mat. And notice how the the hands are just gently rested. Try keeping those ankle or wrists in alignment with the shoulders. Again, always stacking the joints. When you're ready to come out of this pose, you might want to hold it for closer to 7 to 9 deep breaths. And when you do feel ready to come out of the pose, we'll bring the forearms to the mat, using the strength of the core to safely lift up. Take an inhale and then exhale. You can come onto the hands. And then we'll go ahead and swoop the feet around. And a nice little counter stretch to this pose is the seated forward fold. So I might as well go ahead and show you guys that nice little counter stretch now. So let's go ahead and first of all, take the glute, lift it away from the body. So moving the junk away from the trunk, I always say. Lifting the arms up on the inhale of the breath. And exhaling, slowly coming down until you feel some sensation in the hamstrings. Then we can just let the hands rest either on the legs or on the mat, whatever feels better. Keeping the shoulders down, away from the ears. Chest is open. Head lifts up. And we're hinging at the hips, okay? We're not rounding the spine. We're keeping that spine straight, hinging like a lever. And what's nice about this pose is we can use a strap to help take some pressure off of the hamstrings. So, let me show you guys what that looks like. What we could do with the strap is put it around the bottoms of the feet and then just hold the mat or the strap by the belly. So you might have to adjust your strap so it's long enough, enabling you to hold the end of the strap by the belly. And this is important because it allows our shoulders to stay relaxed. We don't want to be hunching the shoulders forward, straining to reach the toes. So instead, we just pull on the strap, and it's a fabulous modification option. And after probably 7 to 9 deep breaths, we can come out of the pose nice and slowly. Body to just a comfortable seated position. So thanks for practicing with me here on Zen Active Sports. Be sure to stay tuned for more of my instructional videos coming soon at www.zenactivesports.com. And thanks for practicing with me. Namaste.